Good. Alrighty. I got a relatively quickish topic. We'll see how this goes.
Oh my god, I'm ready to hear about this one.
I played Liza P and I beat Liza P. I love that while there is a lot of games this year, thankfully they've been mercifully like lengthed. I love how
Yeah.
short uh call it Armored Core was, which is what like my thing on my plate before this one. So did this one. Lies of P, if you don't know, is a Korean game that is a Souls-like. That's no longer like a new thing, right? For a new studio to be doing a Souls game, many have tried, many have failed. Liza P decidedly does not fail.
Let's go.
To the point where I'll open up the discussion by saying it's my fourth favorite Souls game.
Wow.
Maybe it maybe even third. And when I say Souls game, I'm talking about like I'm putting it in the roster with FromSoft Souls games and putting it above like four of them.
Damn.
So that's like this. They cooked. On a game design level, this is so easily the best Souls game as far as like mechanics and systems. It's like they took every grievance you could have with Souls and then just made really good systems around it, and they are really addicting to play with. They're really thoughtful and not wasting your time too much. Like they just got like all the beats right and did it better than From could. In fact, like one of my favorite mechanics of the game is something called the P organ. Let's take it back.
The P organ.
I'm not talking about my cock. Okay, let's take it back a sec. This is a game that is a Pinocchio game. It is a Pinocchio story because Pinocchio. What? Why is that a
Pinocchio P organ? They knew what they were doing.
The Pinocchio organ, it's his heart. The skill tree is his heart.
Yeah, I know where my heart is too.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. And then, so, because it's like public domain, they can do like a full ass Pinocchio game. You got Pinocchio, you got Geppetto, you got Gemini. I fucking hate Gemini. You got other like references, like if you pre-order the game, you get like him with a donkey mask as a costume, and you get like a classic Pinocchio outfit where like it's a green with like a stupid hat. Like the costumes in this game are great, but it's a very gritty, very Bloodborne feeling setting, where it's like you're in some sort of like oldish London inspired environment, and things are all about puppets at first, and like puppets have gone berserk. The force that powers them has caused them to go into frenzies, and they're breaking the laws that were ingrained in them, where they're supposed to help and not harm humans or lie to humans. But they're breaking that, and Pinocchio is the one good one. He awoke. He's not the one good one, but he's awoke and he's becoming more and more human. He can lie to humans. He can also but he fights to protect them. But there's some interesting stuff they do with that as far as like killing humans and the morality of Pinocchio. I don't know if he's properly Pinocchio or if he's just P. I think he is properly Pinocchio. I'll get to that a little later. So I don't know like everything about Pinocchio lore, but you do go inside a giant whale, but the way they do it is like you call in a submarine to get to like the final island, and the submarine's shaped like a whale, so it's like, oh, that's a really cute way to do it. So they have like all these little things. The story is told a lot more straightforwardly. And like you have Jiminy with you. He travels around with you in your lantern. The problem is all his lines are really either poorly translated, poorly read, or just bad lines. And it might be a mix of all three. The weakness of this game is definitely it's not the story. The story is actually quite interesting. And it's just a very interesting story about Pinocchio becoming a real boy, but in a mature like kind of form of that, you know. But the actual dialogue can be very uninspired or cringy. Like you read the notes that people leave behind, it does like the more traditional like someone left some scribbles on the wall, and that's how you pick up the lore as opposed to like
Nice.
reading some dank shit on a ring that you found somewhere. It still has some of that, but like it's not as engaging. Like it's written very blandly, but the actual story is interesting. So I feel like it was a localization team issue, which is rare. We're in an era where like localization teams tend to be pretty good. I feel like they might have dropped the ball here, or maybe the story just wasn't that interestingly written, despite being a cool story. what's some cool mechanics about the game. So, like I was saying, you have your P organ. We've returned to there. It is like a skill tree. Every time you exploration feels really good because you fight quartz, and each time you get a quartz, you put it in your P organ, and it very much increases what you can do. And it's one of the most addicting skill trees because for example, going back to Spider-Man 2018, it's got the most it feels like someone held the devs at gunpoint to put in a skill tree where it's yeah, this does this, and you get a couple percents into this there. It's very by the books. You have to use the P organ to survive in this game. It's giving you very necessary mechanics.
Bro, you gotta stop saying P organ.
I love it. I love it.
It's what it's called, and I respect
it's what it's called.
You could call it the Porgan.
No, it's not the Porgan. It's the P-organ. Your weapons have a cool system where non-boss weapons, you can they come in the form of a hilt and a blade, and you can mix and match hilts and blades. The hilt and the blade each have a different skill, so you always have two special attacks you can do with your mana bar. And what you can do is you can mix and match to both change the scaling of weapons, but also how they function. The length and their movesets will change. And you can mix and match those two abilities that they each have. The game has parries, but also blocks. And the way it works is blocks are... It's like a Souls game where you don't get a shield in this game, except for one instance. What you said, you have to block with your weapon. And just like in a Souls game, when you block with your weapon, you don't get 100% blocking. But if you parry something with perfect timing, you will perfectly block it and also do a lot of stagger damage. So it's got a bit of Sekiro in there. The speed is very Dark Souls 3, so it's borrowing from a lot of them. But what it does do, if you block an attack, you get red health that you can recover by being aggressive. So kind of like what Bloodborne does with the rally system. What's really impressive and what really skyrocketed this up my rankings is the areas. The stages are so good. They're really fun to explore. There's not that annoying stage that's going to halt your progress. They're a really good level of challenge. They have good enemies. They have a lot of boss units that run around, but if you kill them, they die forever on the stage, like mini-bosses. A controversial part I have with the game, and what keeps it from being above Dark Souls 3, which is what it's below right now for me, is that the bosses are really, really fucking hard. They this is coming from me. Remember how I play Souls games, how I would not use summons in Elden Ring, and I beat that game 6 times.
I was about to say, you're the last person I would think would complain about a game being hard.
These bosses are unfun challenging sometimes, where I made a tier list of the bosses, I begrudgingly put one of them in S. Just to put something in S, because I felt bad, I put the second to last boss in S. It was getting rough. Most of them are I put in C. There was 4 or 5 in B, and then 5-ish in A. So there were good ones, but a problem is 80% of the bosses, if not more, are 2-phase bosses where you have to deplete a whole health bar and then they get up and do that. And when you do enough of that, it gets kind of fucking annoying. But more damning is that the second phases have completely different movesets almost every time. Where I now have to go through the first phase. It is a completely different boss from the second phase. I get to the second phase, immediately die. None of what I learned in phase 1 is carrying over to phase 2 because there's no carryover of the movesets. What I prefer is, if you're going to do that, and you're going to do that for almost every boss, is that phase 2 has mostly the same moveset, we're going to say 80%, and then a couple new mechanics and moves to throw on top of that, and some variations on the first move to make it a little trickier, as opposed to the bosses look so cool and are so cool conceptually, but my fucking god, they're fucking annoying to fight. So near the end, they were getting better though, but I think it's because your power level rises to the occasion of being able to scrap with these bosses with the most nonsense attack patterns. There is no rhyme or reason for when their combo stops. There's no rhythm to it. Every single attack will go on one attack more than you think they should. And it's okay, that's a cool trick. Don't do it for every fucking attack. Give me a couple of easy, openings, for the love of God. To the point where, like, I summoned to beat 4 of the bosses, which is not something I do in Souls games. I just beat the bosses solo. To be fair, in 2 of those, I was just summoning to get past Phase 1 so I could learn Phase 2. And then I was like, no, let's just beat this guy up. But then 2 of them were like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to get past this. Like, I shouldn't feel that way. I love hard boss fights. So it is a bit of a bummer. Maybe in a New Game Plus run, though, I would like all the bosses more. So there is a chance that this could become 3rd. Now, okay. I don't know if this is interested any of y'all into playing it. I don't know. I kind of want to spoil the ending a little bit.
I want to. It's just one of those situations of like, I don't have time.
I won't spoil.
Like you can spoil it because to me playing the game is the fun part.
Yeah, like so there's some cool stuff with Pinocchio and Geppetto near the end. The final boss, if you take a certain path, is really cool. It is basically what the power source that's fueling all these puppets. There was a petrification disease that petrifies humans, but then turns their memories into an essence called ergo, and that is the souls that you collect throughout the game and the souls that they use to power the puppets. So the puppets start becoming self-actualized people because they're made of people's memories. You are specifically the son of Geppetto that he put into a very special puppet, and now he wants to make you a real boy, so give him back his heart. And it's like, fuck, like, Dad, why are you doing this? I genuinely love you. So the final boss, if you choose to not give him the heart, is called Nameless Puppet, and it's like a body that he made with like the remains of Geppetto Carlo, who is Geppetto's son. And he fights with a cool like scissor blade that he can split into 2. He's insane, but he's like a pretty good, like, he was a good challenge, but he's got insane attack patterns like every boss in this game. Once you beat that, you get this bonus ending where one of the characters is talking about how like puppetry and ergo is one form of immortality, but we are researching multiple, and he's on a train talking to some mysterious person. And then it's like, we need to go back and investigate more on the subject called Dorothy. And then you cut to a girl walking in red slippers, and like you just see the slippers walking by. And she's like looking at the hotel that served as your home base the whole game, and then she clicks her feet. And you realize that the sequel to this game is going to be the Wizard of Oz game, and I think it's going to be called The Dreams of D. And it's going to be about how dreams are another form of immortality if you can just, like, eternally live in a dream. Which is, that sounds so Bloodborne. Like, oh, dude, the dream, like, if they can take everything they learned and the complaints, like, boss complaints are actually pretty popular. I know some people don't have problems with them, but a lot of people do think they're like, some of them are unfun hard. If they can tighten up the bosses and tighten up the dialogue, they're going to make a fucking out of this world good game for the sequel. This was their first attempt, and they are competing with FromSoft. So like,
that is pretty impressive.
Yeah,
I gotta hand it to them. They did really good. So Dreams of D, I will be talking about it in 2026. Look forward to that. Maybe that's optimistic, but they should take their time, make the challenge a little bit. I feel like they're like, it's the same thing with Elden Ring, where like they're like, we're not gonna test the bosses very much because we're gonna let you summon, and they make a lot of mechanics for summoning and buffering them. Now, the bosses of Elden Ring, I could learn, like I could fight them. Even Melania was like, took me 70 tries or to 100 tries, but I didn't feel she was as bullshit as like even like a mid-game Liza P boss. Like, they took me less tries, but they were less fun to figure out, is my complaint with them. So, that is something, like, if you do play this game, throw away your pride, just get ready to summon for some of the bosses when it feels like it's getting unfun. I do recommend